Greetings, Cine Coven. Welcome to the Silver Nitrate Witches Movie Review Brew Mini Edition. I'm your host, Laura Valenza, and I'm flying solo on my broom tonight for this fun fact episode. Actually, it's not really a fun fact episode. We're doing a sleeping draft, but it is kind of ultimately a fun fact. So anyway, for this mini episode, I'm here to seriously ask the important questions in life. And my question today is, what came first, the toga party or Animal House? The short answer is the toga party. It was not the raunchy invention of the National Lampoon for their 1978 film Animal House, but a satire of a pre-existing condition of American college campuses and beyond. If you want to know more about Animal House, check out our full-length episode hosted by both of your Silver Nitrate Witches. If you listened to that episode, you'll recall that Animal House is about the poor man's fraternity, a real pigsty of underachievers who are at risk of being shut down and expelled. In the face of despair, they decide to take action. They're going to have a toga party. While watching Animal House, I had to know, was the toga party just one of the many absurd scenarios dreamed up for the film, or was it one of the cultural elements the film was, well, lampooning? So to answer my question about the toga party, I turned to newspapers.com, where I found tons of articles reporting on toga parties from before Animal House's release in 1978. As Belle and I discussed in our Animal House episode, the idea of setting the movie in 1962 was to represent a sort of golden age of college campus life. And indeed, the majority of articles I found came from the 1960s as well as the 50s and into the 70s. I found one fraternity tale of a 1949 toga party, but it definitely seems to have been a trend that came to prominence in the 50s and 60s, at least enough prominence to make the papers. So about that golden age of college campus life before the Vietnam War and social unrest fueled protests on campuses across America, I found a 1972 article called "Good Old Days Return to University," and that story begins, quote, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Remember the days before pot and politics became the vogue on the nation's campuses. The distant past when the most violent collegiate activity was the Sunday football game. End quote. One student, a sophomore named Barbara McLeod, complains that, quote, the world was a lot better off then, end quote, and that they have to, quote, bring back the good old days. End quote. And apparently the college leaned into 50s nostalgia for themed homecoming events. The story ended saying the only thing missing from the festivities was the toga party. Now, let's keep in mind some of these themes of nostalgia and suspicious definitions of violence as we continue. Let's check out some other highlights. On November 17th, 1961, that's 1 year before Animal House is set, the Oklahoma Daily at the University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma, wrote about Pica's Slate Roman Party. Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity pledge class will hold its annual Roman toga party at the chapter house from 8 to 12 p.m. Saturday night. Sal Musco, New York City freshman and pledge class social chairman, is in charge of arrangements for the dance. Quote, a pair of lions, real ones, will add atmosphere to the party, end quote, Musco said. Okay. There's no commentary or follow-up about the real lions. Like, did they actually get lions? Where did they get lions? What became of the lions after the party? And was the school really cool with this? Anyway, They do go into detail about the decor, including making the house look like a Roman arch, the inside like an arena and covered in murals, and the club room with the live band would take the form of a catacomb. They also specified that costumes will be more than togas, like and this is their quote, military uniforms reminiscent of Caesar's legions and slaves' clothing. The caption for the photo that accompanies this article says, "Wine, Women, and Song." The article also covers a list of themed frat parties happening on campus. Themes included are Deep Breath, are you ready for this? Suppressed Desires Party, Sweater Party, Playboy Party, Television Watching Party, followed by a hayride, because TV always makes me want to pretend I'm a farmer after watching it. Plantation Ball, which that one came with the quote, "The South shall rise again." New Year's Eve Party, another Suppressed Desires Party, Fall Formal, Jungle Party, Ranch Party, White Rose Formal, and a couple other general no-theme parties. And if you're wondering what desires were suppressed, I think you would have had to have gone to the party to find out. A 1965 story from Austin, Texas is salaciously titled "Frats Toga Party Photos Worth $2,300. The article goes on to explain that Sigma Nu fraternity claimed to be, quote, primarily a religious and educational institution, end quote, and so, quote, sued the city for back taxes, claiming an exempt status, end quote. And then the article continues to say, but Wednesday, when the city produced pictures taken at a 1959 toga party in the Sigma Nu house, the fraternity decided to pay that year's taxes to prevent introduction of the snapshots. John Kofer of Austin, Sigma Nu alumnus and attorney, said the pictures were enough to, quote, prejudice me against my own fraternity, end quote. They did not publish or describe the photos, tragically. Toga parties were not just for college kids, apparently. A San Antonio, Texas paper reported on a toga party in 1970, hosted by a couple old enough to have teenaged children. I'm not clear whether the children attended the party. A 1968 story covers a toga party at an officers' club, hosted by the Tactical Air Warfare Center and sponsored by a major general. In 1959, an engagement celebration was toga party themed, and it made the papers. On June 18, 1975, the Bakersfield Californian published an article advertising the Kern Singles Ski Club's toga party and slave auction to learn more about the ski club, because skiing and Rome have so much in common. And what do they mean by slave auction? That's not addressed in the article. It's the second time Roman slavery has come up in these highlights. The 1961 article said dressing as a Roman slave would be considered an appropriate costume for the toga party. The Romans were a militant, imperialistic, slave-owning society, yet a party emulating their style became symbolic of an era that, in the 1970s, student Barbara McLeod feels nostalgic for, considers the good old days, and claimed predated violent activities on campus. Well, the article claimed that. She didn't claim that. Again, we're talking about the era of Southern plantation and suppressed desires parties. But I guess it was all wholesome because, after playing at slave owners and expressing their suppressed desires together, they all took a hayride. The idea of a non-violent Julius Caesar, a conqueror who was also assassinated, and slave auctions is conveniently irrational on the part of people who don't want to face their own complicity in inequity and injustice. This MAGA-like obsession with the conservative 1950s goes all the way back to the 1970s, apparently, creating this diluted and diluted version of a United States that perhaps did have a lot in common with the Roman Empire and not in a fun times party way. What's fascinating about Animal House, a movie that is hysterical and stupid on one level, is that it does not shy away from the barbarism inherent in these good old days of campus life. When the ending goes through where each of the frat bros wound up, many of them doctors, lawyers, senators, powerful people, it's no wonder the next generation of students faces the threat of the Vietnam War and feels the need to finally confront issues like civil rights and the women's rights movement. Or, like Barbara McLeod, these students want to bury their heads in the sand and pretend the problems of the 1970s didn't evolve out of problems in the 1950s. A 2025, Brute? Well, that is the end of our Roman toga party saga for today. You can tune in to the Silver Nitrate Witches movie review brew for a little movie magic every Wednesday. Thank you to Fine Motor for the use of their song Highway Moon. You can learn more about the band at finemotormusic.com. Stay witchy, keep watching movies, and maybe don't party like it's 1955.